Happy President's Day. We're going to do a 2028 Democratic presidential primary tier list. This is what it gives you if you don't know what you're talking about. Luckily, I have no life, so let's just get on with it. Before we actually do, we have to rattle off some of these names. We're going to be talking about, of course, AOC, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Spartacus, Chris Murphy, Andy Bashir, Josh Shapiro. You get the point. Don't forget Pete Buttigieg, and don't forget his husband. Now, looking at the polling, there's a lot of different numbers, so I'll just give you a couple samples of a lot of polls, and you'll see what the hell I'm talking about. So, firstly, we have Kamala Harris with the lead. Now, in most polls, you'll see either Gavin Newsom on top or it's Harris on top as well. But you also have to keep in mind that there's a lot of people that are not being counted. What do I mean? Well, when you're so far out, over a year from the primary date, honestly, in 2028, there's a lot of people that are unsure, and those are up for grabs. So while it's so early, it's, good to see what the polling is saying, what the wind is blowing. All right, so 29.6 percentage points for Kamala. You have Gavin at 21, Pete Buttigieg at 8, Cortez at 7.6, Shapiro at only 5, Kelly, senator from Arizona, short, bald astronaut, 5%. Jasmine Crockett, the uppity, 3%. Now, President Trump's approval, though, is at negative 12.9. So that's 42 approves to 55 disapproves. If you recall, that's pretty much the average of what he had around 2019 pre-COVID. So, he's pretty much where he's always been. Now, the only reason why I point that out is because the Democrats are running against Trump. Even though he's term limited, although Steve Bannon's trying to gaslight people that, oh my God, he's going to run for a third term. He's not. But anyway, the point being, though, is that the whole animus of the Democratic Party, as you see him today, is to hate Trump. And so his approval is showing that there's an opening for somebody who's a little more centrist, in my opinion, to beat Vance or Rubio in 28. Now, Gavin Newsom, we're going to talk about him first. His approval rating is pretty mediocre. In California, where Trump lost by, 15, 20 percentage points, you'd assume the Democrat would be the opposite. He'd be up 20. Well, he's only up 8%, 47 approve to 39 disapprove. Again, rather disappointing for a guy who wants to be president more than he wants to do anything in life. Now, one last poll. So as you can see here, Harris is at 39, Newsom is at 21, AOC at 10, Buttigieg at 7, Shapiro, who's short also, 7%, Obama skinwalker, by the way, Kelly at 6, Whitmer at 4, Pritzker, the fat guy, forgot about him, I think he ate the competition, anyways, 3%, Bashir, 1%, governor of Kentucky, blue, governor in a red state, impressive, nepotism much, we'll see, Ossoff, senator from Georgia, basically a nominally straighter Pete Buttigieg, but maybe not as smart, 1%. So in the hypothetical, ranked vote choice, so basically you're saying, okay, maybe you're a Kelly supporter, but who's your second pick? Basically, when you average that all out, Kamala Harris has a lead of 39%. Newsom is at 21. And so when you look at the final hypothetical here, Kamala Harris is polling at 56% and Newsom at 44. So that's a pretty healthy lead, but with over a year out, we don't know. So while this poll says that she's up by 12, this poll says that she's up by 8.6, I think this one's more accurate, race to the White House. Now, let's actually rank these suckers because that's the, yes. Now, what do the gambling addict cokeheads think about this election? Because they tend to know what's going on. All right, so the bookies are saying that Gavin Newsom's odds are at 30%. Now, AOC is at 12, Ossoff is at 7, Shapiro at 7, Kamala at 7. So the betting odds are super crazy, and they're very much skewed for Gavin Newsom. So it seems like he's running away with it, though I don't think this is too accurate, to be honest. If you see here, he was lapping Kamala Harris the whole time, but only at 12% last year. But when you look at the jump over here in about September of last year, 2025, Newsom has been over 30% pretty much the whole time, with AOC surging just a little bit. All right, so getting to the point. Let's rank these. First of all, AOC, I know if you're a Hassan Piker fan, God bless you because he's a numbskull, you would support AOC. If you're a Bernie Sanders supporter from 10 years ago and you're still unemployed, you would be a fan of AOC. All right, snidey remarks aside, she's terrible. She's terrible. One step above the who, but if she's a who, at least you could be like, oh, maybe she's great. She's kind of good looking, even if she's hitting the wall. But still, I think she's a bimbo. Now, I'm a Republican. I won't lie. I have a Trump flag right here. Okay. Now, the thing is that AOC, while she's popular, she could be entertaining. She's young, relatable to the youth because they're all unemployed, stupid idiot. Look, the point being is that she's very unpalatable to the mass masses of even the censure, more centrist, less retarded faction of the Democrat Party. So I think she has no viability in the primary, even because she's not really. There's not enough Democrats that are out and out socialist at this point to warrant a Democratic socialist to win. Now, there is one scenario where, obviously, if there's multiple centrists taking each other's votes, then you could see a socialist like Bernie Sanders take the lead. For example, if you recall, 2020, Bernie Sanders was lapping Joe Biden in Iowa, in New Hampshire, maybe. And then when it came to South Carolina, that's when all the Democrats, including Pete Buttigieg, who rides a bicycle without the seat to work every day, at least he did. God bless him. But anyway, so the point being is that they all endorse Biden. So I think that could happen where you could have a Bashir, you could have a Chris Murphy, more moderate people, and they could say, well, fuck it, we're going to endorse Gavin, get cabinet positions if he wins, and screw over AOC. So I think she's not very viable for that reason. Although she would get a lot of percentage, support and money, so maybe a C, but she's still going to lose ultimately. John Ossoff, he sucks, and he's almost a who, but I know who he is. I'm bored. Okay, let's see. Kamala Harris. She honestly is very complicated to rank because while she does have the lead in most polls, obviously everybody knows who she is. She got kind of close to beating Trump, and by close, I mean she lost the popular vote, lost every single swing state, did worse than Biden in like almost every single county, and lost more minority support than the white guy Joe Biden, the 80-year-old senile grandpa. That said, maybe she stops drinking wine, maybe she gets off the Klonopin or whatever the hell SSRI she's on, and she locks back in. 4 years older, maybe wiser, definitely. Okay, now Kamala is interesting because she does strike a balance between the progressive and the more center part of the party. That said, she doesn't have any convictions either. So unless she's running against someone like Gavin Newsom, who again also doesn't believe anything but in himself, really, it seems like she'll run into an impasse. So I think she's probably a C because she already lost to Trump. Vance will be pitched as a Trump without the baggage, in which case, how the fuck is Kamala going to win that? So hindsight being 2020, you could have said, well, she could have played 24 better and she could have won, but I doubt it. So there you go. Elizabeth Warren, an F. Similar track record to Bernie, again, but less charismatic. She's totally bitchy, substitute teacher energy. She sucks. Enough said. She's like 80. Jamal Bowman, who, again, most people don't know who that is. I think he lost a congressional primary to a pro-Zionist person because AIPAC was funding that person in, I think, a Missouri congressional district. And good for that Democrat Jew or whatever, because honestly, the guy's an idiot, numbskull. Also, his sister, Nina Turner, most people don't know who that is. Again, another congresswoman, I think, from Ohio or something. Batshit insane, Jasmine Crockett aligned. Just that Crockett's hotter, obviously. Okay, goes with that saying. Mark Kelly, as a candidate, I think is probably a D. Now, Mark Kelly is from a purple state like Arizona, right? 2 Democrat senators, Democrat governor, though I thought it was rigged. Whatever, Carrie Lake. And, of course, we have, Trump winning the state by 6. So with that said, you could see like, okay, well, he's from a competitive swing state, that's going to help him maybe lock in Arizona. So, why not support him? That's good, but he doesn't really have charisma. He doesn't have stage presence. He's kind of hard to look at because he's bald, that he's not particularly good looking. He's not built like Jason Statham. He's about half the size. He's like 5'7". And as a guy that's about that height, maybe 5'8", standing on my credit cards, I will say that that is a disability in politics. Okay, so put in your inserts, boys. But anyways, he's not going to go far. Gretchen Whitmer is a pretty good candidate, all in all. She's going to be a white woman in her 50s. Plenty of Democrats are in that cohort. Okay, that's great. That said, she, I think, is quite popular in Michigan. She won by a lot, I think, in 2022. But she, again, does not have the pulse of the party. I don't see her on TV. I think she got mogged by Trump. She got frame mogged. In fact, if you recall the Oval Office meeting, she held the fucking folder to her face to hide from the ambush that Trump did with the cameras, right? So she can't take the heat, can't take the camera flashes. So I think she's not going to make it too far, although her on-paper credentials are really good, which makes me think that she'd be some sort of like some person like Buttigieg, where she gets like 8% of the vote, like Klobuchar 5 years ago, and says, okay, well, I'm obviously going to lose, but, Gavin Newsom, make me vice president, or in the case of Kamala, make me something else. I think she'd probably support Newsom over Kamala because Kamala wouldn't want a woman VP just because of the whole DEI bullshit. But anyway, Dean Phillips is a who, nobody cares. He primaried Biden, didn't go well. He lost to Joe Biden. Haha, didn't even get a debate. Raphael Warnock, I don't think he'll run. He, I think, has domestic violence allegations. I don't know. He beat Herschel Walker, which is like saying you beat a third grader at a math test. So I don't know. He's not that great. Phil Murphy, honestly, He looks kind of lecherous. Nobody really knows who that is. I think he's the governor of Connecticut. No one cares. Jersey, actually. Huh? R.I.P. Citarelli. Okay, now Cory Booker, fucking F. He sucks. In 2020, he comes in. He looks like a decaffeinated fucking milk dud or something. Just super weird skin color. And again, I know that's very particular, but I might be darker than him, so who gives a fuck? He comes from a privileged background, but reps the hood. Very fucking stupid, right? He's like Meek Mill. He's got blue eyes, and it's super disconcerting. He's not even good looking either. And he's a closeted homo. And the last time I saw him on TV months ago, because he's fucking irrelevant, he's a who. His fucking buns were about to pop off. He was looking like Barney Frank. Very disgusting. He needs to get on the Ozempic. All right, so Pete Buttigieg as a candidate. C. Why? Well, yeah, he did outperform in 2020. Yes, he has maybe a good resume. You know, he was on the cabinet, but he was in the cabinet of a shitty administration for starters. Secondly, he's fucking gay married, which, whatever, right? Current year, but still, that's one thing. That's just a big thing. You know, it's like saying, will you vote for this alcoholic? And it's like, yeah, I mean, if he gets the job done, I guess, but like, that's still kind of bad, right? That's kind of gross. So anyway, he's gay. Black people don't support this guy. You saw what happened in 2020. I think out of like, the 11% support he averaged, maybe 2% of that was black. And Biden won because of blacks, okay? He built black better. And Buttigieg got blacked and he enjoyed it enough to join the cabinet. All right. Mine is out the gutter now. No, actually, it's back in. So he also has a surrogate child with his gay husband, Chasten. Again, Buttigieg and Chasten, like chastity. Yikes. Chastened. I think a lot of brothers will not like that, and even some white folk with their balls will say, like, dude, what the fuck? So he's like the Antichrist. He is very similar to Gavin Newsom. He's a narcissist, someone who basically woke up, like at 7 years old and was like, I'm going to be president, daddy. Then his dad shoved him back in the closet. So anyways, yeah, you're like a gayer Gavin Newsom. All right, now J.B. Pritzker, D. Why? Well, Pritzker is very dysgenic, very fucking fat, and he's so fat that I could say by 2028 I can lose 20 pounds, right? I'm not that fat, but this guy looks like he ate me threefold. This guy's like 500 pounds. People just don't like that. And Chris Christie got far in life, though he might croak soon because he's fucking fat and he's 50. But anyway, the point being is that when you're in your middle ages and you're that obese, people are going to think, dude, why would I vote for you if you can croak? All right, we already had that president that couldn't fit in the tub, right? And it wasn't Harriet Tubman. Anyway, Pritzker is unlikable. You know what he said at the DNC? He said, Donald Trump, you're a fake billionaire. We should listen to real billionaires like me. Something like that. I'm like, nigga, what the fuck is wrong with you? Talk about missing the fucking room, not reading it. So he's dyslexic with crowds. He can't read the caloric labels either on fucking desserts. But So he does have money. I'll give him that. But he's unlikable. So I see him as like a like a cash cow for maybe Newsom, and he might be the fucking commerce secretary, something stupid. Ruben Gallego, again, very similar to Mark Kelly. He's a Hispanic senator from not Mexico, I mean obviously, but from Arizona. So like Kelly, he's bilingual, unlike Kelly, because Kelly is too stupid. But he also has the problem where his Spanish is shit and mine is really bad. So just imagine. Two, he's white. So it's kind of like, are you really even Mexican? Like, Rubio's about as white as you can get passing, where you could be like, oh, that guy's Latino. But this Ruben guy does not look Mexican at all, other than for the fact that he's like fat in his 30s already. All right, I love my people. And he has no charisma. I think he debated, who the hell was it? Carrie Lake? I'm surprised he signed on for that. I think Katie Hobbs dodged a bullet there. But Carrie Lake eviscerated the guy. He has no stage presence, and maybe he'll summon it up like JD did over the course of a campaign, but I just really doubt it. His name recognition isn't there. He has no international, or rather national headlines either, like a Newsom. So he's almost a who, but he does have a little more dignity in being a senator. We have Jeff Jackson. I don't know who the fuck that is, and I'm a nerd. Governor Wes Moore, B, or maybe A. Look, number one, he is black. He is in his mid-40s. He's a good speaker. He's got that. I guess he's good looking, kind of. I don't know. He's whatever. I'm a guy. And he's a governor. That said, he's a governor from Maryland. Maryland is not really highly esteemed on the national stage for goddamn good reason. Baltimore, hello. Ravens, hello. Anyway, but he does have like he checks the boxes, right? So the diversity, the intelligence, the competency behind the camera, etc. Resume, governor, former military. Okay, he's got it. But will he get enough clout by 2028 to not just be Gavin Newsom's like toady? is what I'm saying. Can he get prominence? Now, I get it. Governor of California hitting the headlines is as easy as fucking anything. But Maryland, how do you get on the map? Antagonizing Trump? Gavin's got that. So what does Westmore do? And plus, he's not getting any socialist bona fides either. Now, Jared Polis, I think he's a gay governor out of Colorado. Fuck no, dude, he's ugly. Joaquin Castro, a complete minstrel show. I know this is going on. We're 15 minutes in, so I'm going to speed through these. But yeah, no talent. He sucks. Julian ran in 2020. Complete joke. I hope nobody remembers him as a Mexican candidate because he's a complete pansy. I just bar him from the Latin race. No Latin king there. Kathy Hochul, fuck no. Plastic face, hell no. Mary Patola, I think she ran and lost. Running a good campaign out of Alaska. Fuck off. Nobody knows you. Mitch Landrieu, I think, was a governor of Louisiana like 15 years ago. Why the hell would anybody know who that is? Ro Khanna, interesting. I could go on a tirade about him. D, kind of similar to the other socialist, obviously. And he is good with AI and, oh, I'm going to tax the elites and all the Epstein, oh, Thomas Massey. Okay, but, the Epstein stuff won't really matter in 2 years. Mark my words. And, he's Indian, to be honest. I know it comes off a certain way, but just believe me. Okay, if you swapped Gavin Newsom's brain for Ro Khanna's and Gavin Newsom was in Ro Khanna's body, do you think he'd be as popular? Like, you go from, like, again, no homo, 6'3", handsome, white guy in shape versus, I don't know what he is, like 5'8", fucking brown. Sir, please, at the 7. I know how that comes off, but like seriously, I'm right. Laura Kelly, she's a Democrat governor out of Kansas, I believe, but nobody knows who that is, so I'll just put it there. Tammy Baldwin has aged like shit. She's in her 70s now, I think. I think she's from Minnesota. Nobody knows who that is, honestly. Tim Walz, F. Are you fucking kidding me? People were saying like, oh my god, he could do better than Kamala. He's with the bros. Dude, this guy's in the closet. His wife is like Hillary Badalasto, like not as smart. Fucking more lesbian somehow. I don't fucking know what she does. Gross. Satanist, I think. His daughter, chopped, dude. Like, Chelsea Clinton looks like fucking Ivanka Trump compared to whatever Hilda Walls is. So, no, he'd be terrible. Roy Cooper, interesting. Again, fits the anti-diversity quota. What do I mean? So, like, with Newsom, you have a tall white guy in his 60s or whatever he is, late 50s. So he fits the role of, like, a president. Like, if you were, like, really drunk and you woke up from a coma and you're like, oh, it's the president's, like, a 6-foot guy that looks like George Bush. Okay. Now, so he does have that. But aside from it, he doesn't have national press. He's the North Carolina governor, which is impressive because that's a state Trump won, I think, 3 times at least. But that said, he doesn't have much of a record that I can think of. And I know more than the layman voter, which is why I'm, grading on a curve here. So I think he's more of a who. But just given that he has good credentials on paper, I'll put him at C. And also, I'm not ranking them at like, oh, Warren is not as good as Ossoff. That would take too long. Okay, Michael Bennett, he fucking sucks. I think he has a lisp or something, dude. Like, he needs to get checked out. He ran a really bad campaign like 6 years ago. He sucks. All right, Josh Stein, I don't know who you are. Okay, sorry. Maybe I'm underqualified. Chris Murphy, he fucking hates Trump. I think he's a senator out of Connecticut or Jersey. I don't know. He's young. That's about it, though. I don't think people know who he is. John Fetterman, interesting choice. I don't think he'd run. I don't think he has, like, the ambition to be president. He's more of a humble fucking Leroy. Leroy Jenkins. I think he'd be a D. He's just fucking dysgenic. He doesn't even wear appropriate outfits, to, functions. I think he is just chopped. He needs to look smacks. Andy Bashir, this is a controversial one, to be honest, but first of all, Klobuchar can be C. She's pretty, she punched above her weight class for sure in 2020, but nobody remembers that, and I foresee the same thing, okay? I think she's running for governor now in Minnesota, so I assume she's going to run, but that's probably just she's running to be like 6th place and endorse Gavin Newsom to become, I don't know, fucking housing secretary. All right. Andy Bashir, a lot of people say he's really good. I don't think so. He's young, you give him that, but he's inexperienced. He's a 2-term governor out of a super red state, which is impressive. But when you contextualize it with the fact that he's using daddy's name, he was the literal governor before him, I think, was Bashir Sr. Forget what his name was, Tom. Anyway, so nepotism, that's not going to bode well because likely it means that he's not as talented as somebody else who did not have their dad be the fucking governor prior to him being governor, number one. Number two, he doesn't have that much charisma in my opinion. And 3, he does have a lot of clips I've seen recently on podcasts where he he uses the Bible to defend transgenders and abortion, I think. So it's just fucking gross. But maybe I'm wrong. Then Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro honestly is an A. but with some caveats. So number one, he's obviously Jewish. You could say a lot of people are very pro, not Hamas, but pro Palestinian plight, and that's fair. But I think that's going to dissipate in 2 years. I doubt the Israel war will keep going, past another year. I hope. So that'll be dissipating with time, just kind of like the Epstein thing. It's going to die out in terms of relevance and being headlined. That said, Josh Shapiro is a good speaker, but there's a kryptonite to this. If you watch that guy Shapiro for 5 minutes and then watch like maybe 30 seconds of a Barack Obama speech, you'll realize that a guy in his 50s like him just copied him, copy and paste, just copy and paste the whole thing. Like the mannerisms, the inflection, the cadence, Michelle, Michael. So he's a Obama skinwalker. I think a lot of people are going to pick up on that and they're going to find it pretty disingenuous and like cheap. Like he doesn't have his own personality, so that sucks. But yeah, he's from Pennsylvania, which is literally the best state to be out of for a presidential contest because, of course, not only does it have a lot of delegates in the primary, but it also has, I think, 1920 electoral votes, and it's the biggest swing state out of like the 6 or 7 that exist now, and he's very popular. So he literally does have like the best resume on the list. But he is also like 5'6". That's gay. I mean, Ron DeSantis is like 5'9", 5'10", and he got shit on for wearing heels. So just imagine him being like that much shorter. Uh, so he's a really good candidate, but he doesn't have that X factor either to be the president, right? He doesn't have the Obama charm, the Bill Clinton charm, and on to the next guy, Gavin Newsom. All right, well, where does he fall? Oh shit, in the who? Who's Gavin Newsom? All right, so let's break this down. It's not a who. He's probably one of the more popular people aside from Kamala on the list. He's not an F either. He has a lot of clout. Is he popular? No, he's at a -10. Relative to like how popular the Democrat Party is in California. His track record is fucking terrible, objectively. Speaking of which, millions of dollars missing in a multi-billion-dollar high-speed rail that he's been talking about since 2008, folks. There's going to be people voting in the primary that that were born after he said that, oh, we're going to start building this fucking rail line from, I think, LA to San Fran. And, 17, 18 years later, there's no rail line. Or there's like maybe 20 miles out of 300, something like that. It's like, come on. So it's like his version of the border wall, just that Trump actually got it built, believe it or not. So Gavin's going to be known for a lot of spending in California, a lot of liberalism, a lot of riots, a lot of immigration. It's not good. Now, on the flip side, what Gavin has is probably the best gift of gab out of any politician in the Democrat side. And very few Republicans are better, in my opinion. Okay, he is. If I had to pick one of these people to watch them talk their way out of a DUI, even though they're like slurring their words and they smell like booze, I bet Gavin would fucking gaslight the absolute living hell out of the cops. So I think he's the American psycho for a reason. He's very talented at that. He'd be the type of guy that would lie about an affair and get away with it for longer than he should have. Again, talk out of a DUI, brizz up the judge, the female officer, So he's really good. But like I said, his track record is fucking terrible. So it's like if you had someone at a job interview and you have Josh Shapiro who's short, glasses, dorky, no charisma, good resume, good outfit, good suit at Lehman Brothers. But then you have Gavin Newsom in sweatpants and like a tank top, but he's like the best speaker. Matthew McConaughey, Okay, who wins? And that's the ultimate question of this campaign. I don't think the socialists are going to win, but it's someone in the general mass, the center, the Kamala types, the Gavin Newsom types, the Medicare for all that want it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of middle ground between the socialist and the not as stupid ones, Democrats that is. And what side of the donkey do we fall under? I think Gavin Newsom is probably a B. Controversial take. People say, oh, he's unstoppable. Others say he's fucking unelectable as soon as people know about how bad California is, which I think everybody does know at this point, especially in swing states like Arizona and Nevada. A lot of people flee California because it fucking sucks. And so anyway, the point being is that he's definitely going to be the front runner in my opinion. Kamala has the lead now, but that's without her really being in the limelight. If you look up Gavin Newsom on YouTube, he's got interviews like literally like 5 days a week. So I'm just letting you know now, you're going to see a lot more of him. And I think that he's going to win the primary. But then again, I could be wrong. It could be any of these people. It could be someone we don't even know. Shout out Stephen A. Not really. Anyways, like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Comment down below your thoughts. Who is on your S tier? Because I think none of these guys are, honestly. I think the Republicans are going to win 2028. And I'm really wishing we do. Because if not, the country's going to fall apart. So see y'all in the next one. Adios.